Continues. Potent storms rolling into the weekend once again. Louisiana to Maryland. You guys need to be on alert. We got big threats today. All the hail we had yesterday.
Yep.
More hail today. Damaging wind. Isolated tornado could be possible right here on the Gulf Coast.
But look at all that water. These same storms are squeezing out significant rain for dry spots in the southeast. Kind of perfectly placed, I got to tell you. The only problem is it's coming a lot quicker than they can handle it, bringing on a multi-day flood threat for millions as we go through this weekend.
It's another rainy start to the northeast. You can see it below us down here at our feet.
This is the worst day of the weekend, though, at least.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we start improving from southwest to northeast on Saturday, and Mother's Day looks absolutely splendid up over here. But this area is kind of a testament to the fact that we can come out of drought. Okay?
Yeah, good point.
And in some areas we have up in here.
Yeah, we're getting repetitive rounds. Obviously, it's been very busy for several weekends. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jordan Steele. We got meteorologist Stephanie Abrams and Jim Cantori here, obviously, with us this morning. We are already starting off a little bit of a busy start to the Friday.
Yes, with that rain and wind that was actually tearing through middle to the last 7 days has been anywhere from Alabama to Texas. But all of this, we're going to beam it over to basically the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. That's really where we need the rain. Soil moisture is very dry for us here. I mean, it really stands out. Not only the shallow layer, but also that deeper layer. Look how dry we are. And that means that we have drought conditions here. And Florida's the worst with the extreme drought conditions. And the rain is going to be kind of central Florida, but then otherwise right over these dry areas in the Carolinas and Georgia. I think we're going to do some really good help to the drought there. But as you see, it just goes down kind of central Florida. It doesn't get all the way down into South Florida, the heavy rain, I should say. But that does mean that we could see flooding when you're getting 3 to 5 inches, because that's essentially a month's worth. For the entire month of May, Tallahassee averages 3.36 inches. And if we get that in a matter of a few days, that is going to kick off some flooding, and that's why we do have that flood risk. Atlanta, we're only down almost 2 inches, a little less than that. But notice our temperature, 63 is all we're going to get to on Saturday. Bundle up, Buttercup. It is going to be cloudy, wet, and cold. There are your rainfall totals. Heaviest stuff more south and east of town. And Charleston, we actually really need the rain. We're down over 7 inches for the year. Our temperatures also, we go from 86 today to only 71 on Saturday, well below average underneath that upper level low. And you'll notice that theme throughout our show, talking about who's really hot and who's going to be cold underneath that upper level low. Columbia, South Carolina, only 65 degrees here, Jordan. But again, you're getting that 3+ inches of rain. There's always someone that will overachieve in this.
It'll be good.
It's not.
In the northeast.
Boston, since March 1st, has had 9 out of 10 rainy weekends. New York and Philly, I think, has been 6 out of 10. Syracuse has had 10 out of 10.
Since March 1st.
Since March 1st. We're talking about a trace or more.
Right.
Okay? Not a hundredth of an inch. We're going with a trace or more with that. Right. But, I mean, people don't care if it's technically 1/100th of an inch or a trace. A little spit of rain is rain to them, right? That's what it matters. And I'm only saying that because technically, in order for rainfall to count, it has to be 1/100th of an inch or more. A trace isn't technically rainfall, but you don't care. You get a little spit of rain, you have clouds, that's considered rain. And I'll tell you what, you get 90-degree heat Mother's Day weekend, you're like, what month is it? What's happening here? That's what we're going to see. Temperatures will be above average for 125 million. We start 10 to 15 degrees above average, but then it really goes up from there as our ridge builds in and strengthens. We do have that upper level low that is giving us the cooler temperatures into the southeast. Temperatures only in the low 60s for some places, but it's the warmth I want to focus on because we're jumping 20 to 30 degrees above average this weekend. 90s. In places that we don't typically get the 90s until June. Notice, Iowa, South Dakota, we typically hit 90 in June. So we are well ahead of schedule. Even in Omaha, it's the 3rd week in May. So we are well ahead of schedule. And it's not just 90 degrees like we'll get tomorrow. We jump 96 into places like Bismarck. Record-setting heat for some of us here. And these records, look at this one in Minneapolis, it's been standing since 1900. We are going to crush that. That's the other thing. We're not just breaking them by 1 degree. We are crushing records, which is not good if we continue this warming that we're seeing with our changing climate. It stays hot all the way through Tuesday into Rapid City, and the same as we head into Minneapolis. And notice we have loads of sunshine. This temperature is taken in the shade, so the direct sunlight is going to be about 10 degrees hotter. And Jordan, it looks like we stay hot more than likely as we head to mid-May in the east while we cool off in the west.
That might be okay, especially after a 60-something degree weekend. runoff.
It did. And also, it was actually some of the most expensive flooding in the U.S. Mm-hmm. It was just huge rain, catastrophic rain for a lot of us here.
And as a result of that, you start connecting the dots, right? And our senior national correspondent, Justin Michaels, explains the results of this new study.
Closer to hurricane season, guys.
And more when it comes to flooding rain. There's the best relationship between the changing climate and flooding and rain events opposed to other, tornadoes and that type of thing.
And if you look at the billion-dollar disasters that they've done and now are doing away with, which is awful, you'll see a lot of this is severe weather, hail, wind, and tornadoes. But flooding is coming up.
Yeah,
flooding is coming up.
Let's talk about some of the changes we just saw recently at FEMA in the last 24 hours, really.
Yeah, 24 hours. Cameron Hamilton, who is running in place right now. But as we get closer and closer to hurricane season, what does that mean? Where does FEMA stand?
And his background is, with weapons of mass destruction.
David Richardson has nothing to do with emergency management or, distribution of funds. He understood weapons of mass destruction in his past. So
he may not
we'll have to see what goes here.
We'll see how it shakes out. Yeah. All right, Jordan, take us through.
Welcome back into America's Morning Headquarters this Friday before a Mother's Day weekend. Days of flooding rain making an absolute mess in the southern plains, pushing water into the streets, into the parts of Texas and Oklahoma. Everything is now shifting east, and we can see video just like this coming into the Weather Channel as we head not only through the weekend, but, Jim, into the beginning of next week for places like the Carolinas, Georgia, and into Florida.
So when you wake up tomorrow morning and tune into the Weather Channel, where do you think the video is coming from?
The video...
if you just had to... I think...
Florida would maybe be
exactly
my best guess for
100%. I agree with you. With the thunderstorms we're expecting.
I passed the pop quiz. Yeah.
You totally passed it. You can leave for the day. You'll take the next 30 minutes off. Anyway, let's talk about this southern
Florida. Steph?
And the clouds and the showers will keep it cool, and we are on the opposite end of the spectrum for the west and the plains and eventually into the northeast into Tuesday when 125 million will be above average. We start off today, highs 10 to 15 degrees above average. NBD. But as we head over the weekend, our ridge is going to build, intensify, and things really heat up, with the exception of those of you who are stuck under this upper level low, where our highs are only going to be into the 60s. But we're talking 20, 30 degrees above average. So where does that put us? Into the 90s. And not just 91, 92. Some of us are going to be in the mid 90s. Tomorrow, it is 90 from essentially Omaha over towards North Platte, northbound, even Billings at 89. Remember, this temperature is taken in the shade, so the direct sunlight, it'll be a lot worse. It'll feel a lot hotter than that. And then, boom, on Sunday, we've got 90 in Minneapolis, 96 in Bismarck, 95 into Pierre, and we are going to see a lot of records broken. We don't typically see this type of warmth until we get to June. All right, mid-May for Omaha, but essentially mid-late May into June is when we typically start to see 90s. Obviously, you can get it before that. We're not setting records on how early we're getting it, but we're definitely ahead of schedule. Notice all the records that are going to happen from Saturday to Monday from California on into the Northeast. A lot of potential record highs that have been holding strong since 1900. And not only are we breaking these, we are crushing some records. 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees. We'll be breaking some of our records here, going all the way back to 1906 when it was a hot one. Rapid City, we stay on the warm side, and we are going to see those 90s for our Saturday, Sunday, into our Monday. We cool off Tuesday to 83. You'll be able to tell a difference, but you're still going to be above average. Minneapolis, we hold into the 90s, at least through our Tuesday, Jim.
That's pretty long-lived. Do you remember if April was above or below average
for the warmth? I don't remember off the top of my head. Listen, you already gave me a pop quiz. I passed. So now there's 2 of them, and
I just want you to go 2 for 2.
Jeez. Storms, and have a look at what they did. Look at the moisture from the 19th, when still our Hillary was a hurricane way down south of Mexico. Came in, made landfall into Mexico, became a tropical storm, and still brought flooding rain into Southern California, Arizona, Nevada. And by the way, all the way up, we had that tropical moisture all the way up into places like Montana. That's where we set a state record rainfall thanks to Hillary. The same in Idaho, Nevada, and Oregon. So this was a prolific storm that we had here. Then as we have a look here at Ian, it did tremendous flooding in Florida. You remember it if you were there. And remember, this just shows these are not coastal systems. Flooding went all the way into central Florida, 20 inches of rainfall. This is interesting, Imelda, that it was a TD, a tropical depression just before landfall, became a tropical storm, and then quickly became a tropical depression. But still, even being that weak, caused 24 plus inches of flooding rain into Texas. Matthew was an interesting one, too, because there was a front, I remember, that was there helping squeeze out extra amounts of rain. Huge flooding in the Lumberton, North Carolina, 20 inches. And that spread, you can see 10 to 15 from Virginia down into Florida. So what do you need to know? Do not drive through floodwaters. You don't know what's going on under the water. You can't see if even the road is there. You could be in serious danger. Test your drinking water. Don't, of course, eat food that are in the floodwaters, and stay away from down power lines because water is a very good conductor of electricity. And if you're thinking about flood insurance, it doesn't come